Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Skill Up 26. I hope you're having a wonderful day. Thank you for joining me for another episode filled with powerful lessons, inspiring stories, and practical wisdom that can help you build a better life. Today's topic is something that every successful person has experienced. Every entrepreneur, every athlete, every scientist, every leader, every student, every dreamer, and every person listening to this podcast. Today's topic is how to handle failure. Failure is something most people fear. Some people fear it so much that they never even try. They stay inside their comfort zone. They avoid risks. They avoid challenges. And slowly, they avoid their dreams. But what if failure isn't the enemy? What if failure is actually one of life's greatest teachers? Today, through a powerful story, we'll discover why failure is not the end of the journey. Sometimes it's the beginning of something extraordinary. So sit back, relax, and let's begin. There was once a young man named Daniel. Daniel dreamed of becoming a master potter. Ever since childhood, he was fascinated by beautiful clay pots. He admired their shapes, their designs, their craftsmanship, and he dreamed of creating masterpieces that people would remember for generations. One day, he decided to learn from the greatest potter in his village, an elderly craftsman named Master Elias. People traveled from distant places just to buy his work. His creations were famous for their beauty and perfection. Daniel became his apprentice. On the very first day, he asked eagerly, "Master, how long will it take me to become successful?" The old man smiled. Then he replied, "That depends on how well you learn from failure." Daniel felt confused. He expected advice about techniques, tools, or artistic talent, not failure. The next morning training began. Daniel shaped his first clay pot. It collapsed. He tried again. It cracked. Again. It broke. Again. It became uneven. Again. It failed. After dozens of attempts, he finally created something that looked acceptable. But when he showed it to Master Elias, the old man shook his head. Start again. Daniel felt frustrated. Weeks passed, then months, and failure followed him everywhere. Some pots cracked during drying. Others broke inside the kiln. Some looked ugly. Others became completely useless. One evening, Daniel sat alone in the workshop, surrounded by broken pieces of clay. He looked at the failures around him and whispered, "Maybe I'm not talented enough." The next morning, Master Elias noticed his disappointment. Without saying a word, the old man led him into a storage room. Inside were hundreds of broken pots, thousands of broken pieces. Daniel stared in disbelief. "Whose failures are these?" he asked. Master Elias smiled. "They're mine." Daniel was shocked. "Yours?" The old man nodded. "Every broken pot taught me something. Every mistake improved my skill. Every failure made me better." Then he looked directly into Daniel's eyes. "Success is built on a foundation of failures." Those words changed everything. For the first time, Daniel stopped seeing failure as proof that he wasn't good enough. Instead, he started seeing it as part of the learning process. And that is the first lesson about failure. Failure is feedback. For failure is information. Failure shows you what doesn't work. Failure teaches lessons that success often cannot teach. Think about a child learning to walk. The child falls hundreds of times, yet nobody calls the child a failure. Why? Because falling is expected. It's part of learning. Life works exactly the same way. The road to success is filled with mistakes. Not because you're weak, but because you're growing. Months passed. Daniel continued practicing. His skills improved, but failure never completely disappeared. One day, he spent an entire week creating a beautiful pot. It was his best work so far. He felt proud, excited, confident. Then disaster struck. The pot cracked inside the kiln. An entire week of effort was destroyed. Daniel felt devastated. He wanted to quit. That evening, he told Master Elias, "I can't do this anymore." The old man listened quietly. Then he asked a question. "What hurts more, the broken pot or the story you're telling yourself about the broken pot? Daniel thought carefully. The truth was clear. The crack wasn't the real problem. The real problem was what he believed it meant. He believed it meant he wasn't good enough, that he would never succeed, that all his effort was wasted. Master Elias nodded. Most suffering comes from the meaning we attach to failure. This is another powerful lesson. Failure is an event. It is not your identity. You failed at something. That doesn't mean you are a failure. There is a huge difference. One is temporary. The other is a belief. Never confuse the two. Years later, Daniel would remember that lesson whenever life became difficult. One day, a wealthy merchant visited the village. He announced a competition. The winner would receive a large contract and national recognition. Daniel saw an opportunity. He worked harder than ever. For months he prepared. He created his finest masterpiece. The competition arrived, and he lost. Not second place, not third place. He didn't even make the final selection. The disappointment was overwhelming. He felt embarrassed, humiliated, defeated. As he walked home, he considered giving up forever. Then he remembered something Master Elias once said. The people who succeed are not the people who never fail. They are the people who refuse to stay down. That night Daniel made a decision. He would learn instead of quit. The next day, he studied the winning entries. He analyzed their strengths. He identified his weaknesses. He improved his techniques. And slowly, he became better. This is another important lesson. Successful people ask different questions after failure. Most people ask, "Why did this happen to me?" Successful people ask, "What can this teach me?" Most people look for excuses. Successful people look for lessons. Most people focus on blame. Successful people focus on improvement. The quality of your future often depends on how you respond to failure. Years passed. Daniel eventually became one of the most respected potters in the region. People admired his beautiful creations. Visitors praised his talent. Young apprentices asked for advice. One day a student asked him, "What's the secret of your success?" Daniel smiled. Then he pointed toward a shelf filled with broken pottery. The student looked confused. "The secret is there." The student stared at the broken pieces. Daniel continued, "Every piece represents a lesson. Every mistake made me stronger. Every failure made me wiser." Then he shared one final truth. The only people who never fail are the people who never try. Think about the greatest inventors in history. Thomas Edison failed thousands of times before creating a practical light bulb. Many famous authors were rejected dozens of times. Athletes lose competitions. Entrepreneurs lose money. Scientists conduct failed experiments. Leaders make mistakes. Failure is not evidence that you're on the wrong path. Often it's evidence that you're trying something worthwhile. Another lesson Daniel learned was patience. Many people expect success immediately, but life rarely works that way. A tree doesn't grow overnight. A skill isn't mastered overnight. A dream isn't achieved overnight. Growth takes time, and failure is often part of that growth. Every challenge develops strength. Every setback builds resilience. Every obstacle teaches wisdom. Sometimes the lesson is more valuable than the success itself. Imagine a butterfly struggling to leave its cocoon. If someone removes the struggle, the butterfly never develops the strength required to fly. Human growth works the same way. Struggles are not always obstacles. Sometimes they are preparation. Preparation for responsibilities you are not yet ready to carry. Preparation for opportunities you haven't yet received. Preparation for the person you are becoming. This is why resilience matters. Talent is valuable. Intelligence is valuable. Opportunity is valuable. But resilience is often more important than all three, because resilience keeps you moving forward when life becomes difficult. And difficult moments are unavoidable. Everyone experiences them. The difference is how you respond. Will you quit? Or will you learn? Will you complain? Or will you adapt? Will you stay down? Or will you rise again? Remember this. Failure does not decide your future. Your response to failure does. One failed exam doesn't define your intelligence. One rejected application doesn't define your potential. One failed business doesn't define your future. One mistake doesn't define your character. One setback doesn't define your journey. Life is bigger than any single failure. And your story is not finished yet. The most powerful lesson Daniel ever learned was this: failure is not the opposite of success. Failure is part of success. Every successful person carries invisible scars, invisible lessons, invisible struggles, invisible failures. The world sees the victory, but rarely sees the journey. So, if you're facing failure today, 11, don't be ashamed. Don't give up. Don't lose hope. Instead, ask yourself, what can I learn? How can I improve? What is this experience teaching me? Because every failure contains a lesson, and every lesson contains the possibility of growth. Remember, the same fire that melts wax strengthens steel. Challenges can break you, or they can build you. The choice belongs to you. So keep moving forward. Keep learning. Keep growing. Keep believing. And never allow temporary failure to convince you that your dreams are impossible. Because sometimes, the greatest success stories begin with the greatest failures. Thank you for listening to Skill Up 26. If this story inspired you, share it with someone who needs encouragement today. And remember, failure is not falling down. 12, failure is refusing to get back up. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep turning your setbacks into stepping stones toward success. 13.